The city of sin, Las Vegas, a place where dreams are shattered by the jackpot and fortunes change hands faster than a dealer shuffles the deck. We only see the facade, the glitz, the luxury, and the easy money. But behind this facade lies a world built on bones, fear, and the most audacious heist in Mafia history. Today, I'm not just going to tell you a robbery story, I'm going to tell you how one night changed the criminal underworld forever. Watch until the end, and you'll discover how a single man deceived the FBI and took the secret of millions to his grave. A secret the mob guarded with dozens of lives. Picture New York City, the late 70s. The city lives by the laws of the street, where the one with the most power and the least fear rules. In the heart of this concrete cauldron reigns the Lucchese crime family, one of the 5 families holding the city in an iron grip. Their business is anything that makes money: racketeering, gambling, drugs. They are a shadow government with its own laws, the chief of which was Omerta, the code of silence. Anyone who broke it paid with their life. At the head of their airport mafia was a living legend, an Irishman respected even by the toughest Sicilians, Jimmy Burke, nicknamed the Gent. He wasn't Italian, so he could never become a made man, an official member of the family. But his intelligence, brutality, and animal instinct made him the king of shadow operations. Jimmy knew the real money wasn't in street muggings. The real score lay where no one else dared to take it. That place was John F. Kennedy International Airport. It wasn't just an airport, it was a gigantic river of money. Every day, millions of dollars in cash from all over the world passed through its cargo terminals on their way to American bank vaults. For the Mafia, the airport was a gold mine. Burke's men controlled the unions of baggage handlers, drivers, and clerks. They knew everything: what was being shipped, where, and when. One autumn evening in 1978, information reaches Jimmy Burke's ears that makes his blood run cold. He's inside man at Lufthansa. A bookie named Louis Werner owes the mob a huge sum. To save his own skin, he gives Jimmy the tip of the century. A special shipment is arriving soon at the Lufthansa terminal from Germany. Nearly $6 million in cash. By today's standards, that's over $25 million. A switch flips in Jimmy's head. This isn't just a robbery. This is a chance to make history. A chance to hit a score that would set up the entire family for decades. Burke starts assembling a team. But he doesn't call on made members of the Mafia. No, for a job like this, he needed ghosts. Professional thieves, robbers, enforcers, outsiders with no formal ties to the family. His logic was simple and brutal. The fewer people who know, the safer the secret.
The plan was brilliant in its simplicity and audacity. No complex schemes or technology, just cold calculation, nerves of steel, and brute force. On the night of December 11, 1978, a nondescript black Ford Ecoline van pulls up to the Lufthansa cargo terminal. Inside sits 6 men in ski masks. They don't say a word. Each one knows his move. This isn't a gang of thugs. This is a team of surgeons ready to perform a deadly operation. At 3:12 a.m., they storm the terminal. One crack and the lock on the gate flies off. Inside are sleepy, unsuspecting employees. The robbers move like a single mechanism. Not a single wasted motion, not a single wasted word. They know the name of every worker. They know where the guards are, where the keys to the vault are kept. Their informant, Louis Werner, had given them every last detail. Terror paralyzed the staff. On the floor, anyone moves, they die, one of the robbers snarls. It was the voice of Tommy DeSimone, a young psychopathic and utterly ruthless gangster, a protege of Jimmy Burke. Even his own crew feared him. Legend has it he once killed a man just for making a remark about his polished shoes. Right now, his job was simple: to instill terror, and he was doing it perfectly. While one robber holds the terrified clerks at gunpoint, another leads the manager to the main vault. They know the door has a dual protection system. It can only be opened by two people using different keys and codes. But Burke's plan had accounted for that. They simply forced the two required employees to open the door for them at gunpoint. Minutes later, bags of cash and jewelry were flying into the van. The entire operation took only 64 minutes. 64 minutes that shook the world. The thieves made off with $5 million in cash and nearly $1 million in jewelry. It became the largest cash robbery in U.S. history at the time. They vanished into the night as quickly as they appeared. When the police arrived, they found only terrified witnesses and an empty vault. The van used for the heist was supposed to be driven immediately to a scrapyard in New Jersey and destroyed in a compactor. A crew member nicknamed Stax Edwards was tasked with this job, but Stax made a fatal mistake. Instead of driving straight to the scrapyard, he decided to stop by his girlfriend's place to get high and celebrate. He left the van parked illegally next to a fire hydrant. 2 days later, the police find the van. It was the first thread, but the key piece of evidence was inside. A fingerprint on the steering wheel. Jimmy Burke flies into a rage. His perfect plan was now at risk because of one man's stupidity. In the Mafia world, witnesses don't live long, especially those who can talk. Jimmy gives the order, wipe the slate clean. The bloodiest cleanup in criminal history begins.
Stax Edwards is the first to die. Just a week after the robbery, he's found in his apartment with 6 bullets in his chest. He never got to spend his share. Then, it's the others' turn. One by one, the participants of the heist are found dead. Some are shot, some are strangled, some simply disappear without a trace. Jimmy Burke was methodically cutting off every loose end that could lead back to him. This was a demonstration of power and brutality. The streets turned red with blood. The Mafia was showing what happens to those who endanger the family. Burke spared no one. Even his best friend, the psychopath Tommy DeSimone, was taken out by his own. For the rest of her life, his wife listed him as a missing person. Such was the law of the streets. You're either a predator or prey. There's no in between. The FBI was running in circles. They knew the mob was behind it. They knew it was the work of Burke's crew, but they had nothing. Not a single piece of direct evidence, not a single witness. Everyone who participated in the robbery was dead. Omerta, the code of silence, was working perfectly, sealed by fear and blood. The millions of dollars seemed to have vanished into thin air. And this is where Henry Hill enters the stage, the very same guy whose life story became the basis for the iconic film, Goodfellas. Henry was an associate of Burke's. He knew everything about the robbery, though he didn't personally participate. When he realized that Jimmy was eliminating everyone who knew too much and that he could be next, Henry did the unthinkable. He broke Omerta. Henry Hill became an FBI informant and ratted everyone out. He told them about the schemes, the murders, and how the Luca Chasey family had been robbing the airport for years. His testimony became the basis for dozens of arrests. Bosses, capos, soldiers, they all went to prison. It was a devastating blow to the New York Mafia, one from which it never fully recovered. And what about Jimmy Burke, the genius who planned it all? He was never convicted for the Lufthansa heist. There simply wasn't enough evidence. He was sent to prison for another murder and died there of cancer in 1996. He took the secret of the millions with him to his grave. Most of the money was never found. Legend says it's still hidden somewhere on the outskirts of New York City.
This story isn't just about a robbery. It's a story of incredible greed, brilliant planning, and animalistic cruelty. It shows how the real criminal world operates. There's no room for friendship or honor. There is only cold calculation. Jimmy Burke was willing to kill all of his friends just to keep the money and his freedom. It's a lesson written in blood. The Lufthansa heist became a legend, a symbol of the golden age of the Mafia, its power, and its inevitable fall. It showed that even the most perfect plan can be ruined by human stupidity, and that there is nothing more terrifying than the paranoia of a boss who's afraid of being caught. The streets teach you one thing: trust no one, not even your own shadow. So why does this story still captivate us? Because it's real. This isn't a Hollywood action movie. This is real life, where millions of dollars and dozens of human lives were at stake. It's a reminder that behind the glittering facade of a big city, there is always a dark side that lives by its own savage laws. The secret the mob was keeping wasn't about who did it. The FBI knew that. The secret was who the true architect was. Officially, it was Jimmy Burke, but in Mafia circles, it was whispered that the idea and the initial plan were fed to him by the family's capo himself, Paul Vario, a man who always stayed in the shadows, pulling the strings, but proving it was impossible. That knowledge cost lives. So that's the story, fellas. A story about climbing to the top and how hard the fall is. It teaches that on the streets, it's not the strongest who survives, but the smartest and the most ruthless. If this energy fired you up, if you felt that adrenaline and want more real stories from a world where laws don't apply, subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button so I can see your support. Write in the comments which moment from this story impressed you the most. Your opinion is important to me. And here's a new goal for you. If this video blows up and gets 1,000 likes, I'll tell you about the craziest war of street gangs for the cocaine blocks in Miami in the 80s. A story where blood flowed like a river through the streets of paradise, and kids on speedboats made more money than entire corporations. Stay sharp, and remember, the world is far more complex than it seems. See you next time.